When you mix science with spirit, you really understand where the energy is coming from or how it's developed.
Imagine being on holiday in Bali with your baby in a crib next to you in your hotel room, only to wake up in the middle of the night to find somebody trying to steal your child. That's exactly what happened to our next guest.
I believed them and I went straight into depression. I had so much anxiety. I was really just sad that there was no other solution.
And she turned that into a fight for child sex trafficking so that she could stop this type of stuff happening again.
We're not designed to be sick. If you do not take care of yourself first, it's not going to be good for anything else.
And Shayoon is here on the show today to tell us her story and what she's done to heal herself and how she works on healing others. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of the podcast in partnership with our awesome sponsors, Megaverse. More about them later. Imagine being on holiday in Bali with your baby in a crib next to you in your hotel room, only to wake up in the middle of the night to find somebody trying to steal your child. That's exactly what happened to our next guest. And she turned that into a fight for child sex trafficking so that she could stop this type of stuff happening again. A published model, a musician, and a star in so many ways, was really rocked to the core by what happened to her. And Shayoon is here on the show today to tell us her story and what she's done to heal herself and how she works on healing others. So let's talk about the Megaverse, the internet of people. Shaping the next iteration of the internet, Megaverse is powered by revolutionary blockchain technology built on decentralized community ownership. It offers users, brands, and businesses a seamless, regulated, and transparent opportunity for growth, revenue, and community building. Megaverse is accelerating user adoption and achieving these goals through multiple verticals like Megachain, a high-performance blockchain for tamper-proof transactions, Megafile system for encrypted decentralized storage, and Mega Studio, which democratizes development through collaborative and AI elements. Organizations across industries like Dubai Multi-Commodities Center, Dubai World Trade Center, and Ras Al Khaimah government have already explored the lucrative potential of a Megaverse presence. Megaverse enables users to create a Web3 future for the people where technology serves human purposes. Dive in and discover the internet of people with Megaverse today. As you can see, we're not in the studio today. We're in another studio where our studio has been redeveloped. So please forgive us for being somewhere different. But for some reason, it's got this kind of zen-y, nice, kind of calming feeling. So hopefully you'll enjoy this episode. Shayoon.
Spence.
How you doing?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
You know what? Some people when you meet them are interesting. Some people when you meet them are kind of like have got this kind of format that they deliver about who they are and why they do what they do and stuff. Yet when I met you, I think within 5 minutes I felt like you'd moved me, and that was something quite profound to me. So it doesn't happen very often.
I think we were both crying within the first 5 minutes of meeting each other.
Now, you and I share something really important to both of us, which I want to get onto a little bit later, actually.
Okay.
But what I'd like to do to start off with is really start talking about an area that you know an awful lot about, something that I suppose, if I'm honest, I've been a bit of a kind of skeptic about over the years. And probably because I'm going to say stuff here that's not going to make me sound great. Probably because I'm a bit narrow-minded around the subject matter. And the more I spend time trying to learn about it, the more it goes into a world of kind of woo-woo for me, because I just don't understand it. And if I don't understand it, then I'm damn sure out there a lot of my audience don't understand it either. So can we just take it from the top where you explain exactly what you do, how you do it, how you come to do it in a way that I can really understand and everybody else can too?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I know exactly what you're talking about in the woo-woo world. So when I say that I'm a healer, I actually have the tools that empower people to heal themselves. And most people who are in the spirit world or coaches and teachers and all of these things, that they're doing a lot of spiritual bypassing. So the woo-woo world scares the shit out of everybody because they're like, I don't really resonate with these people, or there's nothing, you can drink all the green juice and work out all you want, but if you don't have the tools and the solutions to remove all the negative emotional, physical aspects of your life, then you're going to go nowhere. And that's why most people sit on the therapist chair for years and years and years, and they're just popping pills. They don't have a solution. So what do I do is a very loaded question. I empower people to heal themselves because we believe that you are the healer. We don't believe in the guru mentality and the coaches. Like, you are the healer. You have the power within you to remove what it is that's in the way. I facilitate those healings, and we're known for, at the Lightforce Center, our 4-week program, which sounds super short, but it's a 4-week program, 2 hours once a week, and we show you how to completely remove every emotional trauma that you've ever gone through in your life, so that your physical body, your mental, spirit, and everything can recorrect itself, because the body is so powerful and so divinely aligned that it's all energy. And so we have a very beautiful, really easy and scientific process. And I think that's the difference between us as well, because I think when you mix science with spirit, you really understand where the energy is coming from, or how it's developed, or what you can actually do within your brain to recorrect yourself and your body. It's all the power within you. And so we have a 4-week program that takes you deep. And so I got into a really horrible car accident when I was a teenager, and I was trapped inside a burning car for a while, and I thought, you know what, this is it. And when I woke up in the hospital, I had burn marks everywhere. I couldn't walk. I couldn't properly do anything. And my diagnosis was, you're never going to be able to have children. You're never going to be able to walk properly again. You're basically losing your entire childhood and your pre-adulthood. And so I believed them, and I went straight into depression. I had so much anxiety. I was really just sad that there was no other solution. And so there I was, subscribed and prescribed to the medical system. And I was that skeptic because I didn't know no way out. And I also I never heard of anything else that could help me with my mind and body and my spirit. They're basically like, here, take all of these pills, get addicted to them, and you can figure it out. But, the thing that upsets me the most about the medical industry is the way that they tell you things that cannot be told by a human. Like, you can't tell me, 18-year-old kid that I'm not going to be able to have children when there's nothing wrong with my uterus or because my hip is a little bit dislocated. So it's these grandiose things because they don't know what else to do. And it's not entirely their fault, but they're studying only one thing that's been going around for a really long time, And so I packed my bags and I said, you know what, I'm going to go do something creative because it's going to drive me crazy. And I left Oklahoma and I went to pursue my dreams in Los Angeles. And I went to fashion school and art school. And one day my friend said, hey, you want to go to this concert? It's called Coachella. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to. My default program was always, no, I'm not going to be able to. I'm in too much pain. There's going to be too much walking. And I was a professional dancer. So I lost basically everything that ever made me happy creatively. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'll just take enough of these pills and I'll just, self-medicate and do all the things I shouldn't be doing, just so I can maybe have an hour or two of a good time. I get to Coachella. It's the best time of my entire life. And I'm looking in the audience and there's this man with no shirt on, white boy, completely opposite from what I'm used to, with an animal on his head coming running up to me. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm, hallucinating, like what's happening? And it was this really sweet man who is now my husband, who asked me if he could take me to the front of the stage. But the first thing he ever said to me was, hey, why don't you take a deep breath? That was the first thing he ever said to me. And I was, just the concept of your breath, you forget to breathe. And I was like, Okay. And I did that. And I in that moment, I knew that there was something really special about this human because I didn't surround myself enough with people who were really in tune with who they were and their bodies. So he takes me to the stage, and that was that. It was probably the most magical moment. The beat dropped, and I felt free for the first time in years since the accident. So fast forward, we go to Vegas because he has the company called Spirit Hoods, and they're these faux fur animal hats with the paws, and they were like the biggest sensation at that time. Everybody was wearing them. We were designing hoods for every celebrity. They were on Shark Tank. It became, this multi-million-dollar company overnight because they were bringing people together, and they donated back to endangered species. So it was a really big night for him in Vegas. And I said, I cannot come. I'm in so much pain. And that's when he was like, you know what? I'm really over your pain body story. Just sit down and do a healing with me. And that was really, really foreign to me because in my culture, it's black magic. You don't mess with, energy. It's very foreign. It could be evil eye. It's looked down upon. It's not something that you can say, oh, I'm going to a healer. Everyone would be like, And so I was like, okay, fine, I'll try your meditation or whatever the hell it is that you're going to do. Spencer, I kid you not, mind you, I had a metal rod in my spine, okay? I couldn't even bend over sometimes to put on my own pants, tie my shoes, nothing. I did one session of emotional freedom technique where he taught me how to tap my meridians in my body that are connected to the pain and how to forgive my body for all of the anger and the sadness and the pain. I was so mad at myself that I didn't realize that I was actually holding all of the pain from the accident within my body. Within 5 minutes, Spence, I was touching my toes, FaceTiming my parents, crying. Look at me, I'm touching my toes. All of my pain completely went away. Fast forward 1 week, rod out of the back, no pain, no painkillers. And today I have 2 children. And so I became obsessed. I was the complete opposite girl, right? I was on TV, I was fashion, I was doing I was in the Hollywood scene, right? And so that also played a big part in my breaking out of that world because I could see how important it is to be so connected with yourself. So I became obsessed with wanting to learn everything that I could about this world, from energy healings to Reiki. I've done courses in everything. I've studied in the Amazon jungle. I have had, shaman teachers. I work a lot with medicine. I work a lot with children because I saw the addiction pattern in Hollywood. I lived it. I was that. I couldn't sleep without any pills. I couldn't wake up without being in pain. And so I wanted everybody to experience just what I did because I was the living proof that you can be that. So we're celebrating 10 years right now of the Lightforce Center. For the past 10 years, 11 now almost, we made sure that we had fine-tuned our modality, which is called the Lightforce healing modality, which also uses Dolores Cannon. My husband studied under Dolores Cannon. She's the top quantum healer in the entire world. Now he is, before she passed. And we've taken every bit of what has worked and put it together into one. And the difference between what we do and what other people do or different types of healing, which is why it's so quick, is a process called emotional mapping. Now, we take this map, and on this map, we say whatever goes on this map is going to come out of your body. And we fine-tune every single emotional trauma that's ever happened to anybody. So for instance, we go through an entire map of listing out your physical and emotional symptoms and spiritual symptoms. And we rank it on a scale of 0 to 10. So if, say, the word is depression, you ask yourself, day to day, how do I feel? Where's my depression at? Maybe a 5, it may be a 10. And you'd be surprised that 90% actually, we just did this statistic of people are living with things that are above a 5 or a 6, which are chronic. So imagine you're living with anxiety, fear, pain, sadness, loneliness every single day. We're not designed to be sick. Our default program is love. Everything else is taught. We were taught to be in the box. We were taught to keep quiet. We were taught to not play. We were taught to not basically be children and live. We were taught abuse. We were shown so many different things that shouldn't exist. And so that is who we end up becoming. That is the makeup of our body. So people really actually don't know who they really are until they clear everything. And then the most important part is the housing sentence. So for example, the time when I was 5 years old and my father hit me at Christmas, I felt sad, lonely, depressed. Every sentence, every housing sentence has more than one emotion. And if you think back to that time and space and you still feel something, it's still living within your body. And so your body is running that same program. Scientists have mapped the brain and they said that you cannot tell the difference between what is happening now, your brain, or has happened in the past. So if you sit here and you think about like a nice juicy burger or something, your brain doesn't know if it's there because of how you're imagining it, right? So same thing goes with trauma. Your program is still running. It's in your cells. It's in your DNA. Until you completely remove, through our process, every single trauma that's ever happened to you, you're going to stay sick or it will develop into a dis-ease. And then some people are like, oh my God, like I cannot even begin to imagine how many traumas I have. Like, how do I remember? Or what if I don't remember? And it's crazy when you start to ask your higher self, when you talk to your subconscious, when you give yourself back the power and you take away the woo-woo and you just actually say, I have this in me, I can do it, things will start to come up. And, or when you remove the root cause of the biggest trauma, it could be anything. You could think, hey, it's mother, or hey, it's father, or it could have been the kid on the playground that bullied you, that it gave you, your migraines or your depression. But when you remove the root, the whole house of cards falls, and you start to see that your body is recorrecting itself very quickly. And so we took it and we ran with it because the statistics on our work, it's wild. We have stage 4 cancers, doctors calling us saying what is going on, tumors completely being gone, hernias, depression, anxiety, addictions, autoimmune diseases, you name it. And that's why we say that healing is not a lifelong journey. It only is if you want it to be. Your healing has an end date and it's your choice because we're actually here for a greater purpose. Everything else is bigger than us. And the prerequisite to embodying your full purpose is you have to heal first. And then you go on and do what you need to do, because otherwise you're doing it from a wounded state. What's the point?
Oh man, so much that you take me to on this. So in essence, one, I am holding on to stuff that I need to take full responsibility for holding on to it.
Correct.
And own that, so then I can give myself the power to release it.
Correct.
And that what I'm owning is sitting often in my subconscious rather than my conscious. So I have to get in touch with my subconscious to bring some of those things out.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so let me just run through a couple of examples here. So 10 years ago, I had spinal surgery, I had spinal fusion surgery, like you, rods in the back. I was on incredible pain. I was on morphine. 6 months later, the operation had failed. I got a call from the hospital saying they needed to do the operation again. Had, again, the same operation again, and still in lots of pain for about 18 months.
Yeah.
I was on morphine for 18 months.
Yeah.
After 18 months, and that there was no way at all I was able to function without the morphine.
Yeah, I understand.
And I got flu. And I went to the doctors and they said to me, can you please take this prescription? And I was like, yeah. They said, are you on any other medication? I'm like, yes, I'm on this. They went, well, you can't take both. I'm sorry. So can you stop taking the morphine while you take this medication? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Stop that. They're like, yeah, can you stop it? It's 5 days of this prescription. Take the prescription, you've got a bad flu.
Yeah.
So I took the prescription, and I'd been warned with morphine that you have to be weaned off of it over a period of time.
It's super dangerous.
I took the prescription for 5 days, and I never took the morphine again, and the pain was gone. And it made me really question so many aspects of this. And I was like, what was going on here with this morphine? Was this a story that I'd created in my own mind to believe that I couldn't operate or function without it? Or was there something else going on here? And it got me to the first place in time in my life where I sat down going, hold on a minute, this doesn't make sense. I also use the trauma that I had being bullied as a kid as a conversation piece, as a justification that helped me get to where I got in life because I needed to prove something to the bullies. But when I think about what I've released, I would argue that I've never sat down and tried to release anything. Like consciously sat down and let something go. Because to me, it almost sounds too much.
Let me ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Close your eyes. I'm gonna list a few emotions, and I want you to give me the number as you feel it now, day to day, and let's do a little.
The number of out of 10.
Yeah. So 0 is you can't feel it at all. 10 is the highest. 0 is healed. 10 is the highest. Okay.
10 is the most pain.
Most. Yeah.
I didn't. Oh, I love you.
Okay, I'm here. We're gonna go there. All right.
Okay.
All right. Give me the number as you feel it now. Anxiety.
4.
Depression.
8.
Sadness.
7.
Lonely.
10.
Fear.
7. 6.
Open your eyes. You are living in the most chronic emotional pain body right now in this moment in time. And if you're not careful, that will really go into disease. And I think that if you weren't who you were, you'd have a lot more problems. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. You're one of the most beautiful humans in the world on all the work that you do. Imagine doing that with none of that. You should be the happiest. You should never have any sadness, anxiety, pain, fear, none of that. And you do. And that's what I'm saying is most people, even in the highest places, even in the most beautiful philanthropic places, are suffering. And it's because they don't know what else we can do to clear it. And it's those programs, it's those, the one time about the morphine, the one time I had spinal surgery, the one time I was bullied. If we don't clear that, we're going to end up sick. And healing is bad for business, which is why they're like, take the morphine, take the pills, take this. Because the more that they're addicted, the more billions of dollars are made to keeping people sick. And that's why everything has to be questioned in the world. You don't say yes to anything. I'm talking about all of it. The vaccines, like everything. It's for a purpose to keep them quiet and keep them not elevated consciously, because consciousness, we should be flying like the Jetsons in the sky right now. We should be living a completely green life. But, we're not. We have 5G towers. Why? Because it's not good. If people were completely healed, it would be terrible for the bigger powers at play. But what needs to happen is the bigger people who are consciously aligned are coming together actually right now to align for the new earth, because the new earth model is healed, conscious, beautiful human beings that don't have any of these. And it's not to say things aren't going to come up in your life, but you'll have the tools to clear them, and you never let it sit for more than a few hours. If something happens to me, I know what to do. Connect to my heart always. If you can connect to your heart in the midst of pain, you're golden, and move it out. Even my kids, my 5-year-old will come up to me, he's 6 now actually, and say, Mama, can I just remove this thing that just happened? I'm like, what happened? He'll tell me the thing, he'll connect to his heart, he'll breathe it out of his body, and then he's done. And those are the things we need to teach in school.
So letting go. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then how much does a conscious focus on gratitude play a role in this?
It's the number one thing. So aside from the healings, that's what we do in the healings, the emotional mapping and the moving and the healing. Healing's actually the easy part. The hard part is the mapping, because you have to go through everything that obviously hurt you. But we have a morning ritual, which is a non-negotiable. You can completely change your entire life in 21 days. It takes 21 days to break a bad habit, and also 14 to 21 days to reinstall a new program. So you think of it like as a computer, as the hard drive, right? You're always putting in the inputs, and then it gives you your answer. It's the same thing with us. So You have a morning ritual, which is non-negotiable. If you don't have time in the morning, it's basically a daily ritual. But if you can wake up the first thing in the morning before you wake up, when you start to rise and you open your eyes and just look around and have gratitude. Just be so grateful. Thank you for this roof over my head. Thank you for the breath that I'm taking. Thank you for the person I'm sleeping next to. Thank you. Just any sort of gratitude already increases your serotonin for the day and just puts your body at a place where, okay, I'm good. It sends the calm, Zen vibes. And then we have specific meditations that start the rewiring process, I like to call them actually activations, not meditations, because I feel like you can meditate your way into like silence. But what we want to do is we want to activate everything so that you can clear easily, so that you're aware. Because I don't feel like you need to really, unless you've reached a certain amount of time in this space, I feel like activation is more important than silencing your mind, to be honest, because you need to activate each chakra and you need to be so aware of your body. And most people aren't that in tune. So when you activate all of your chakras, and now you're going into a deeper state of theta, now you're allowing your body. It's 45 minutes and people are, I don't have time for that. And I'm like, if you don't have time for yourself to sit 45 minutes, then you need to sit longer. If you do not take care of yourself first, it's not going to be good for anything else. Like in the plane, you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you're helping others. If you are full, then you're able to fulfill. And so you sit down, you do your meditation. Before that, you make a cup of hot water and lemon to alkaline the body. It's a ritual. It's for yourself. I can't live without it. And when I started, I couldn't sit for 2 minutes. My mind was running and I had to do this, that, or the other, but now I cannot. I will not do anything. My kids pray before they play. We do not engage in anything else besides gratitude and love before we go on to our day. No screens at all. 1 hour before you go to bed and first thing in the morning until after you're done checking in with yourself. I always say check in with yourself before you check in with the world. That in itself increases your productivity by 46% every day if you just sat and you didn't look at anything except for going within. So the morning ritual is highly
just repeat that, because that's quite big.
Which part?
46%. So just explain that again.
Yeah.
No.
If you sit with yourself and you do everything I've told you, from the morning ritual to checking in with yourself before you check in with the world, no screens, no other programming, only this program, and you sit down and you take care of yourself, you will have a 46% increase in the productivity of your day.
That's astonishing.
It's astonishing. Yeah. And that's what all these high-level entrepreneurs do. You look at Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins, all of these guys. Joe Dispenza, same thing as me and you. Huge car accident, healed it with his mind. Like, you have to be able to trust that the greatest faith that you can have is within yourself. And when you start to believe that, because when you see it, then you believe it, I know. But when you start to believe that and feel that and give yourself the chance to feel yourself without anybody else, without any other distractions, without work, your whole life will change. You will reach levels that the greats speak about, So yes to gratitude, to answer your question.
The letting go. Mm-hmm. I just want to kind of like, for my own benefit, as almost like a student of this.
Yeah.
If people are able to be 46% more productive just by following some rituals and going through a 3, 4, 5 week program of removing bad habits and introducing better habits, that would have based upon what you're saying, an astonishing impact on any small business owner, any large corporation for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we could go into every company and say, we can help your company be 46% more productive, okay, that's like gold.
Yeah, and that's what we do. I can't mention the names, but we go into really, really big companies. We go into really big CEOs and people who have this lifestyle that they cannot be running all of their trauma program, and they've now realized it. It usually takes people to hit rock bottom, or they're looking around saying, my employees are not doing well and I really need help to bring everybody back on, because community is the new currency. If everybody on your team was operating at the highest vibration, your company would be at the tippy top. And if it's not, you feel it.
So how do...
And also after the 4 weeks is it's the 7-week program, 3 weeks extra in total of purpose work, because most people on the other side of their pain don't really know what to do anymore. They're like, they have completely changed, or the veil has been lifted and they don't think that they, want to do what they want to do anymore. So we have so many people. So we guide people on what's your vision, what's your mission, what's your purpose, why are you here, and what are you really going to do about it? Set the goals. And purpose work is my favorite to do with employees after healing, because then you bring in the foundations of whatever company it is, and then you instill it in them, and then they go from there. And it's really, really beneficial to everyone. And, a lot of people just need to know that they can. And when you have great leadership and you have people who are healed and you have people who can rely on each other, and you form that community within your workspaces, those are the companies that are doing the best.
So there's a few things here. Number one, my first question is, can you tell when somebody's already healed when you meet them for the first
100%.
time? Okay, it's very clear to you, black and white, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number two, do people often resist it because it's scary and it's unknown?
Yes, there is a lot of resistance, but after the first session, and after the way in which we go about our work, they're like, can I please have another session? But we only do one a week. The resistance comes from not wanting to look at everything, which is totally understandable. I work with a lot of people who have been raped by their parents before the age of 1, or the craziest thing. So of course there's resistance because they don't want to relive it. But when you go in there and you take the power away from the pain and put yourself in the place of power, and you actually can feel what it feels like to not have that pain and trauma anymore, it motivates, and there is no more resistance.
There must be a huge weight that
it's the most beautiful thing to witness.
Can you, without naming in any particular companies, can you give me a case study of where you've gone into a business and used your tools and skills and strategies and talk about the resistance maybe, or the issues you had at the beginning, what you overcame, and then what the outcome was?
Yeah, I think it's really beautiful, actually. I'll give you one instant in New York. You have the owner or whoever's at the top knowing that whether A, it's failing, B, the dynamic of everyone is just not working, or C, he also wants to, or he or she also wants to go on it, so he'll put everybody else in and then see, like, okay, if it's working, okay, fine, maybe I'll come to a session, or I'll Zoom in or something. The resistance in people often comes from, in my opinion, a lot of high level, like, I don't have time, I have all of these other things to do. So the resistance is actually making the time to sit down and look at it more than actually the healing. It's more of the concept of like, I just really don't have it right now. So how am I going to do it? And then, after, so the dynamic work in groups is really powerful. So when you sit with a group of 1,000 people, 2,000-3,000 people, the energy of everyone being able to heal together is so beautiful once people let go and they're like, oh, I don't want Sally to see me cry, or I don't want this person. We do this exercise at the beginning where everybody has to be all in, because the answer yes, energetically for your body, is already going to open up so much energy. And so when everyone says yes and everyone's like, all right, I have no other choice right now and I really want to do it. And the collective right now is really pushing to better everything. Everyone wants to feel better. Everyone's looking for that. That's why there's so many retreats and festivals and all of these things. So they'll do the Band-Aid stuff, right? They'll go to one thing or go into yoga all the time or whatever it is, which are all beautiful things, but they don't have those solutions. So once I saw a group of very, suited and booted, total opposite of me, right? Dukes. crying, hugging me, 70-year-old man picking me up with a suit on, big lawyer for huge people. You helped me heal my father wound in 1 hour. Like, thank you so much. I've had the craziest people who you would never even imagine would even sit down to like look at something like this, completely come back and say, you've completely changed my life. I'm doing this work now, that work now. I don't have any pain. I don't have this. I don't have that. I have found the love of my life. I'm pregnant now. They told me I couldn't get pregnant. Like every scenario. Because in my opinion, when you heal together as well, because not everybody has the time, obviously, to do 4 weeks solo with us, When you heal together in a collective group, that's where the real work is at, because that's how you have the domino effect to be able to consciously, inspire that many people at once, and those people will go and do it again, and those people will go do it again to their families and their friends, and the company itself raises its vibration, and so therefore abundance is everywhere for everyone, and I've seen it a lot.
It fascinates me because it's almost like everyone comes away from the experience, and all of a sudden the disalignment becomes alignment, and it's almost
divine alignment.
Okay, divine alignment, and people are looking at each other with a different set of eyes than they had before.
Absolutely.
The judgment maybe that was there no longer exists, and it's just like,
it's freedom.
We're in it together.
Yeah, we're in it together. Imagine working in a space where everybody is just constantly, it sounds so far out, right? Because like even yesterday or the day before, there was somebody that came to one of my shoots and their attitude was just off, and I won't do it. I'm not going to put myself in a place where love is not at the foundation. So every company, every place that I'm in, and I know it's never going to be, easy for that, but it can, and it's very possible. I've seen huge companies completely transform. I mean, the straight up New York girls who won't even like talk to you when you're like trying to speak to them, who are just saying the craziest, their lingo is different. Like, God bless you, and I'm so grateful. All this stuff with the girl that wouldn't even open the door for me, it can change. And that's what, you just need one. You just need that one spark to show you that you're able to remove it, and it can change everyone's life, because most people are just used to living in pain and suffering. It takes that one moment in time for that one person to show up, I'm all about that, to completely change everything.
Talk to me about greed and ego.
So ego is a massive part of this, of everyone's life, but in the spirit world, ego, I'm gonna say some weird woo-woo stuff.
It took you nearly an hour.
I've had to die and rebirth a few lifetimes to get where I am today, and I feel like if I didn't do all of this work, I would have the most massive ego. Like, absolutely. Like, I was that girl. I was in the scene. I was in LA. I was like all of it. So I thought I was, I had a massive ego. And when you do real true work and you're stripped to your knees and you feel the power of whatever it is you want to believe in, if you don't believe in God, universe, you feel the power of Mother Nature and Earth and why you're here. There's no more room for it. And when you're truly healed and you have no attachments to things, like I love art and I love fashion, but I'm not attached to it. I don't label myself, with designer labels because I need people to know that I'm wearing something designer. No, it's because I actually appreciate the art of it. But if I take anything away from me today, I'm the girl that can sit in the jungle with a mosquito net and, find my own food. Like, you have to be able to adapt and to do everything with wisdom and knowledge of what the earth is truly about, what Pachamama really is, why are you here? And your ego gets destroyed in this work. And the only thing really left, there's no greed, because that's the opposite of love. And when you're brought back to that foundation, it really dissipates, which you'll see like in the map, like greed, ego, all of those low vibrational hate, all of that, it disappears. It really does, because you don't have it within you anymore. And that comes with forgiveness. When you can truly forgive somebody who's done the worst of the worst of the worst to you, not because they deserve it, but because you do. When you realize it's because you deserve it and you take that power away from them, forgiveness will heal everything. And there's no room for greed, power, any of that after that. The only power is full power of yourself.
Okay, I want to talk more about business, but you remind me, there's one other person that I've met in my life, okay, other than my grandmother, that has this ability to heal without speaking. And she's in the room. Okay? She's one of the kindest people you'll ever meet in your life, and she's over there. Her name's Sophia, and Sophia is this ability to take whatever might be frustrating or painful or causing your temperature to increase and soothe it. Just with a couple of words or just holding your hand.
Yeah.
My grandmother could do that.
Beautiful.
She only saw the good in people.
Yeah.
She would only ever focus on the good. You know, if she was to meet an axe murderer, she'd find reasons why he did what he did, but she'd look at the good parts of him. It was just her nature to be like that. And a lot of the time as humans, we don't. We tend to always look at the bad things or the not so good things and like really focus on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really, really funny, that comedian, but he's a dick.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going to focus on the he's a dick bit rather than the fact that he's really funny.
Yeah.
And as humans, you can do 99 good things and one bad thing, and everyone focuses on the one bad thing. And for me, you know, when I'm the victim of that in my own marriage, I'm like, but what about the 99 good things?
Yeah.
Can't be focused on
The
that.
0.01%.
Yeah, it's like all of these good that I've done and this one bad thing that I've done. Why do we focus on that? How do we get people to get focused on reminding themselves that there is so much good that someone or some situation or some scenario might have brought? Let's not focus on the negative aspect of it.
Well, you have to look at it as not you, it's the other person who's unhealed, who cannot look at anything that is good because their program is, well, they've been hurt before and it was probably way before you, and they're still running in that program. So their trust and their loyalty, all of that, it has nothing to actually do with you.
Okay, but if you take British people, our culture is to complain.
Yeah.
Our behavior is to, you know, see the bad rather than see the good.
Yeah.
So if that's a nation,
as
opposed to the individuals, how do you see that? Be kind.
That's all I am. No, I give it to you straight though. Look, this goes back to so much. It's not just British people, by the way. It's everybody who was hurt. And so you look at it this way, from religions to everything, like as soon as you're born, you're a sinner. As soon as you're born, like you've already done something so bad, where we've been programmed to take away even birthing from women right now. Like people are signing up to have cesareans. Like we're talking about the complete consciousness being taken away at a very early, colonization, all of that. And so when people aren't taught anything else except for to live in fear God, you're a sinner, you can't do this, you have to do that, there's no room for happiness. And then you add the bad weather on top of it and the really shitty food, right? People in different areas are but I just mean, like food in general, that's low vibrations, lots of I get it. Yeah, and even our food is being poisoned. I mean, we really have to sit and look at labels that say like you have, Roundup weed killer in your green juice. I mean, it's gotten to the point where everyone is so poisoned. And it's not just the British, and it's not like we're living in a world now, sadly, that from the beginning, imagine like everybody who has that type of attitude, who is actually really angry or doesn't really care, has had 100% something happen to them when they were younger. 1,000,000%. You can ask me, I've had thousands of clients, and that is what you're bringing up. It's because something happened. It's because they were treated, they were abused, something happened, and then they grew up with that, and then they pass it on and on and on. And so to take it back to, that one thing that you've done wrong, it's because people can only focus on the bad when their entire childhood, their entire upbringing, or something that really bad happened later on in life and they haven't healed from it.
Right. Your work will never be done because everybody, I don't think there's anybody on the planet that won't have experienced some level of trauma, no matter how big or small, in their lives that they've let go of.
Absolutely.
And so literally everybody, how on earth, I mean, to me, that just seems like great opportunity to help, but such an overwhelming thing to consider.
Right.
Are there groups or communities that exist on this planet of people that you've met that have done a lot of this work as a community? You know, whether that be a nation, whether that be within a country. I mean, you take somewhere like, I don't know, we went to Rwanda last year, and obviously we know about the terrible genocide that took place there. Are there communities out there that have made this a big priority for their community?
Well, that is my main goal in life, is to actually go around and teach people these techniques, because it is actually that simple. And we've created a community online with thousands of people who are, aiding in this movement. But what I want to do is what I am doing is I'm showing the scientific parts of the people that have completely healed from the uncurable, right? I can't say cured. But it's so simple, and it's just so fast and quick and efficient and effective that those people that have that fire underneath them, then they go on and they're lighting it. But what I want to do is fill stadiums, like thousands and thousands of people, to have this energy. And so you can feel what it feels like, even for that one moment. I've developed the program, so even if you don't have me, you can't do a one-on-one with us for those amount of weeks, you still have all of the tools. I want to put it in every university. I want to put it in every school. I want to give, all the children in orphanages. Like, I go and I teach children in orphanages around the world how to just, clear what it is that they're going through in school. I was working with all these kids in Indonesia 2 years ago, and their main thing was bullying and all of these things. And then after one session, you realize, like, wow, even the kids need it the most, because what they're supposed to do is just play. They're not supposed to worry about all of these other things. And then when you inspire that many people, it becomes a movement. And so it's available just like every other, program or belief out there. The thing is that people have a harder time signing up to do something that's not guided by somebody else, in person. But we were doing Zoom healings of stage 4 cancer multiple during COVID online. It doesn't have to be in person. That's my thing. It's like, it is so completely, it's so different. It's so easy. It works everywhere. Like, businesses will have a few hundred people on the Zoom to do the company healings, every Friday. So I've got,
you say something that it's a big thing to say, curing people from stage 4 cancer.
I didn't say cure. I said
heal.
I help facilitate the healings because they do it. Yes.
You help facilitate. I've heard these stories where people have been told that they've got 6 or 12 months to live, and surprise, they live for forevermore, and they heal from whatever that may be. And cancer's obviously a big one.
Yeah.
It's, to me, it's like, this is government. This should be government funded.
Yeah.
But then I suppose from a governance point of view, their job's to divide and conquer, isn't it? So why would they want everyone to be healing and happy?
It's bad for business.
That's not good for business, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you have to go on a mission to push against what actually is right for the human race, but not for a political agenda.
Yeah. It's spiritual hygiene, right? You have to take
spiritual what?
Hygiene.
I like that.
You have to take care of your spirit. And, that's what we were talking about earlier. You have all these spiritual bypassers and coaches and this and that, but it's all Band-Aid work. But it's okay. It's good. The movement right now is wellness, right? I've been in the space for a really long time, but what I see is a lot of unhealed coaches and a lot of unhealed people with massive platforms that are doing more damage, to be honest, because there is no solution, or they're giving the wrong advice because they're from an unhealed place. So like, your therapist, not you, but like other people are always like, my therapist, I feel like, has more issues than I do, or I'm getting the worst advice, or my coach seems like a little bit off, or my yoga teacher is pretty angry, or, and it's like, even the people who have the best intentions or have changed their careers to be wellness instructors or do whatever, they don't even know what to do. They don't even know how to remove all of the emotional trauma.
How many people have you worked with?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but in the thousands.
In the thousands.
Yeah.
Is there a program where, let's take my organization has thousands of corporate clients. Is there a because at the end of the day, if we could make companies 46% mad, but let's say you could make a company 10% more productive, just 10%. That as a top and bottom line number potentially is huge for lots of companies. Is there a process that you follow? What would happen? Let's just take me. I'm a company. Danielle, my business partner, and I sit down and say, right, we've got this group of people work for our company. Okay, we don't know what traumas people have been through. We don't know the ins and outs of everybody's lives. It's very clear to us that the people would have been suffering.
Yeah.
What would be the process that we would be part of and you would follow for us to kind of like go on that journey?
Okay, so I love this question. So if you want just the 10%, take the owner of the company, and that in itself would be huge for everyone else, because once the owner, the creator is healed, then everybody else gets to benefit from that. You healed the child, the adult comes, right? The process is super simple and it's really quick. You literally could do it and do it well if you spent an hour or two maximum in between the healing sessions a week. So your homework is really just your mapping. And then we have an entire program. So you have the self-healing technique. If you feel like you want to sit down and heal yourself, it's guided during the week. You would read the your sentences. You would do our Lightforce blessings, clearing. There's self-love meditation. There's so many things that you can do dependent on how you're feeling in between. Then during your sessions, which would be private, I was going to ask you this actually about your grandmother too. Have you ever connected with your grandmother after has she passed? Yeah. So connecting back to your ancestry and where you come from in your lineage is like tip top number one thing that you can use to help you in your life. So guided ancestry and guided meditations and quantum healing hypnosis to make your grandmother come into a session so you can speak to her again. I'm talking about very deep spiritual work. These are our guides. They're here. They're everywhere. All the signs that people talk about, signs and angels and this and that. Our ancestors are the most important thing that we could use as tools in the other realms to help us daily in our life. People talk about spirit animals. I don't know if you've heard of that, or spirit guides. The guides are, I have high level people channeling Jesus and things in sessions. I have people whose family members have just died, and their father will come through in the session and give them a message that only they would know. It's the power of energy and subconscious. So it's about you letting go and allowing for the spirit and everything, the unknown to come. You have to replace the fear of the unknown with curiosity. And when that curiosity becomes so grand and vast, it's super easy and it's like butter. All your numbers will drop. Your depression will go, I guarantee you, from a 10 to healed in 1 week. And you'll look back at it and you have the map, which is what people like you need to see. They need to see the progress, right? So you rank it week 1, 2, 3, 4. The time when I was bullied on the playground, oh my God, it's a 0. I don't have that fear. I don't have that anxiety. When you cut your hand, when you're bleeding all over the place, you wouldn't go around with a bleeding hand. You would wrap it and you would tend to your wound. The same thing has to go for every emotional trauma that we've been through. And so for the process for you and your business partner, it would just look like that. You would map every character. We start at the beginning, mother, father. We do, we always start with who messed you up the most, And then week 1 is just about the foundational. So mother, father, sometimes grandparents. Then you go on to ex-boyfriends, ex-wives, Susie from the playground, anything else, every character. And you'll notice sometimes people are like, do I need to put that on there or not? it could be the most random person, like in a drive-through, that said something to you that set off your, confidence. You never know. And so when you look at it, then you're just surprised, and you're like, oh my God, like I had no idea this is why I'm sad. I had no idea this is why I have loneliness. And all your numbers drop. So what you're left with is healed. And you look at it from, on the other side of the veil, like, who are you without your pain? And it comes really quickly, really, really quickly. By week 4, you're going to be speaking to all your guides, like, doing the New York girl, Shay, guess what? I'm so grateful for you. I love you. I'm talking to my ancestors.
But I kind of think about it like, it can be deployed as a secret weapon. You're in a business and you're going head to head with your competitors in the marketplace, and this becomes your secret weapon.
Yeah, this is what the greats do. This is what Bruce Lee, everybody, they go in there with the energy and they unzip. It's called unzipping. You can literally go into, I do this in business meetings all the time. I change the energy of the person and I input what my intentions are, because they're always pure. And you can change the energy of water with your thoughts, It's all science. And what you think is what you believe is what happens. And so if you're always operating at a high vibration, imagine what you could do for your companies if everybody was on that level.
Astonishing. Thank you for sharing that with me. It's really valuable.
You ready for your first session this week?
I'm now with you.
Yeah.
I trust you. Obviously, I've got we have something which now we need to talk about, which is really what brought us together in the first place.
Yeah.
So tell me the story about what happened to your son.
So I used to live in Ibiza, and everybody always talked about going to visit Bali. There's this triangle. It was like Tulum, Ibiza, Bali, and I said, why don't we go at the time he was going to turn 2. And so I said, why don't we just go? It's cold here. It was winter in Ibiza. Let's go for 2 weeks and have a break. So we get to Bali. I'd never been before. And this is an actual perfect example of healing situations, because I always say that when you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, it's not going to work. Like, you have to be all in what you're doing. So I actually accepted a job for a photo shoot at a hotel, like a really beautiful 5-star hotel that had this gorgeous art. And it was fun to do it while I was there because of all the perks that come with it. But I didn't want to really do it because I wasn't doing that anymore. I was just focusing on my healing. But I like to say yes to people in different countries so that they can also get, benefits of my work and what I do without. Yeah. So, but it was an example of a 1 foot in, 1 foot out situation. So we go to this 5-star hotel, can't mention it, and I'm doing a photo shoot all day. So I'm being watched. And I went to sleep pretty late that night. And funny enough, I had this feeling from spirit that I needed to move the crib where my son was going to sleep that night so that it wasn't under the air condition. So I moved the crib from next to the door in front of the bed. We go to sleep. We had an amazing shoot, had the best dinner. And, we don't sleep with phones or screens. So I actually was like, okay, I'm going to actually put the phone next to my bed tonight. So if I needed to wake up in the middle of the night, I'll have a flashlight. Because I don't want to hit and I was breastfeeding at the time, so I didn't want to hit my leg next to the crib. And at 3 a.m., I hear this voice in my head. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm saying I'm that connected to spirit. I hear a voice in my head, which I believe is God, saying, wake up, wake up, wake up. I wake up and I woke up to a man who was attempting to kidnap my child in my hotel room in Bali. And in that moment, I couldn't decide whether I was looking around to take the lamp and do something about it myself or scream or what to do. So I ended up screaming, and Alexander woke up, thankfully. And he was dressed in female clothing, the man, and he had like a long wig on, and I'll never forget the image. And basically Alexander chased him out of the room, and when he chased him out, he found his whole group. It was a sex ring of maybe 13 to 14 people screaming at him, "Where's the baby? Where's the baby?" So they thought that my child was actually a girl because he has longer hair and he's absolutely gorgeous. My husband's blonde hair, blue eyes. So we have a really beautiful mixed children. And fortunately, he left his phone in our room while he was attempting to take the baby. So we saw all of the conversation, which was about what they were going to do to him, where they were going to take him, the whole bit. At this point, I was freaking out because he had come in a few hours before, and he set up everything in the bathroom. He OCD. He took all my makeup brushes, put them all out. He was very sick, and it was really creepy. And he had laid a bed for himself in the bathroom. He had a pillow, a blanket, and he had gone into our safe, taken everything. We didn't have cash, not even card to buy coffee that morning. Nothing. Like, we had nothing. But we have our baby, and that's the most important. But I was freaking out at this point because we had realized when we came back to the room, Alexander was trying to call the front desk. It was an inside job. So they cut our phone lines in our room, and everybody in the hotel was gone. It was ghost town. And I'm talking about a really big 5-star hotel, okay? So we realized the security was in on it, and they were trying to come back to get the baby still. And so it was really, really beyond traumatizing, and really opened my eyes into this world, which I had no clue. I had a little clue, but I had no clue what was really going on. So I'm freaking out. I'm calling the American embassy. I just didn't know what to do. The owner, no one came, no police, nothing. This was 3 a.m. No one came until 11 a.m. the next morning. Okay, so we're locked in our room freaking out. Ran out of data to, make American phone calls, all of that. We're American citizens. And so the woman came who owned the hotel, and she looked at me and she said, "If you tell anybody about this, or if you put this on social media, my dad is best friends with the president." And it was basically a warning, like, you can't say anything or whatever will happen. So I had very few options. And so we managed to get out of there. Thank God. We got to this other hotel, and I was just like, get me out of this country. I need to, leave. There was this thing that happened called COVID-19 that hit the same day. No American citizens were allowed back into Ibiza, into Spain. And we got locked down in Bali. Our entire lives, everything is a visa, our dog, our businesses, our house, everything. And they wouldn't let us out of the country. So I'm stuck in the trauma of what just happened to my kid, and I'm in a country that I have zero interest to be in at all. They talk about red lines in places where you shouldn't, you're astrologically shouldn't go. Bali is my red line. Every horrible thing that's ever happened, the most traumatic, has happened to me in Bali. And so I was like, all right, I can do two things. So I went in and I just healed. I tried to heal and heal and heal myself, and it worked. And after that, I knew that I can only turn this pain into purpose. And so I went in and I researched every single place for how to help and prevent child sex trafficking. And I knew that I really wanted to take this part of what could have happened to my kid into my work that I do, because you guys, it spends 94% of the people that I work with on the daily have been sexually abused as a child before the age of 4. 70% of those people that I work to help heal have been sexually abused by their father or mother or somebody within the family before.
Your clients.
Mm-hmm. And so I knew that.
Just give me those stats again. 70% of your clients have had some form of trauma caused by sexual abuse as a child by a family member.
Correct. And 94% of those clients have been sexually abused before the age of 4. So every person I'm talking to in now, I can sit in a room with 5 people and 2 of them have been sexually abused as children. And so I knew that I had to do something about it. And I knew that I really needed to do something preventative because I had zero idea that the real pandemic here is what's happening with the children. So I partnered with a very beautiful company called the Child Rescue Coalition. And what they do is they train law enforcement for free, and they give them this technology that traces. Okay, so I'm going to go there with you with the stats. So it traces the predators online, and then you can see in real time where they are, and then they can be prosecuted, or, and then it goes to the police force.
In the US.
This is everywhere now. They're arresting so many. They've done like 14,000 arrests this year. So basically, in the deep dark web, the requests are so horrendous. There's requests from people who would like to see children with their umbilical cords still attached being sexually abused. And we call it child sexual abuse material because it's not porn, it's not consensual, and they're not anywhere near the age to even call it pornography. So it's called C-SCAM, which is child sexual abuse material. The youngest is getting younger. People are requesting to see children being raped, but at the age of 1, 2, 3. And those numbers are so high that I think it's reached around 300 million files are being shared daily in this dark web. And so when you're working in that space, it's really hard. I go back and I'm like, that was almost my child, literally. And so I'm doing everything and anything that I can to help in this situation. So I'm doing a lot of preventative work because as a mother and as a wife and as a woman, I actually didn't know any of these statistics. And it would help so much to know that, all the teachers that you think are, there's so many stats of, and this is my children are homeschooled now because I know the stats of how many teachers are being prosecuted a year, which systems are doing it, how the school is being run. Dance teachers, music teachers, like it's a very big deal who you let your children around. The closest people are the predators with the stats right now. And they say that the people that are closest to your child, the abuser is usually in the circle. Now, the whole screen time thing with children, I'm very against because the stats that we work with now are all the gaming devices that are just being given to children because it's absolutely ridiculous. My children don't watch TV. They don't watch anything, but the predators are on the gaming devices. So anything with chats, anything with something that has access to your kids is really dangerous. And so just looking at it also is like where the world is right now, right? And how did we get here? And what can we do in the quickest way to help prevent? And it is, a lot of the work is also in the healing. I've had predators and people who have sexually abused other people come to me for help. And I've had people who have been sexually abused and raped and the worst things that you can imagine actually be able to go in there and forgive. And the real work really comes from people who want to talk about it, because whenever you bring this subject up, everyone runs, or they can't donate, or they know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody about, and it's so empowering for me to be able to sit here today to tell you, these stories, because these stories are what can help save someone's life. And these stories are the ones that shouldn't be shunned away. These are the most important thing is our future, and our future is our children. And they need to be protected at all costs. And they need to be completely given a life to live that is of a child. And in the work that you do, which is why I love you so much as well, it's our duty to shine light on this topic and to help save as many people as possible by using our voice.
Wow. You, as we know, you're doing great work, but to go through what you've been through, what I find really sad is no matter where you leave your kids, whether that's the five-a-side football team, whether that's choir practice, whether that's gymnastics, whether it's a sleepover at a girlfriend's house, there's risk.
Yeah.
No matter where you go, there's risk.
Of course.
And I find that really sad.
Yeah.
Because where do you allow them to be? Where do you allow them to go? You know, you've got boys, I had girls, and as a father with two daughters, like wanted to protect them from anything
of course.
That potentially could happen.
There's so much information now that I'm teaching my kids, because a lot of the things that go on are because the children don't have the courage to speak about what maybe is happening. So from the very beginning, this is a great tool actually, is there are no secrets. You know, my kids know that nobody can tell them, hey, this is a secret. There's so many different things that we can teach them at such a young age to help prevent as well. But of course, you can't ever be at all places at once. But there's there's PDFs that I'm working on right now that just like a little book to just give away to everybody, everywhere, putting it everywhere. But it's teaching the kids as well, like safety and importance, and you know what is and isn't allowed. And also coming from my culture too, there's so much shame in being a woman or a girl, or not talking about private parts, and you can't say, you know, the word penis or vagina. It's like, so it's like those type of things, like we need to recreate these traditions and these cultural norms, because it's not normal to not be able to call things for what they are. And there's no shame in saying, you know, yes and no and speaking about it, you know? And so I think these little things go a long way as well.
It's funny about those taboos, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, there's a taboo around this kind of stuff when we only want to protect our kids, but yet we're not going to talk to them about it.
Exactly. And it's like communication is super key here, because the earlier they know and the earlier they feel safe with their parents or their caretakers or whoever is taking care of them, the sooner they'll be able to stand up for themselves or use their voice. Like my nannies, everybody that works for me anywhere in my house has gone through my program. And it's just so important to surround yourself with the people who you completely know and trust. And, you know, you never know. So that's why I don't do sleepovers. And there's just less of a chance when you are this educated. But that's why I really want to go out there and do massive work with parents as well.
What role do you think corporations can play
Huge.
in this, essentially a CSR?
Huge roles. I mean, even down to HR and sexual harassment inside of the workplaces, you know, like people need to feel comfortable. It's not just women, men need to feel comfortable, you know, there needs to be so much love and respect in the workplace.
My daughter was asked something at work a few weeks ago by one or two of the a guy.
I bet he doesn't work there anymore because Dad found out.
Well, I don't know who the guy is because his name wasn't revealed to me, but she was asked, how often do you masturbate? And she told me that it said it. And I said, how did you handle it? She said, well, I didn't know what to say. And I turned around and walked away. And I said to her, go back to him and say, have you got a sister or a mum or a daughter? If you had a daughter, would you like her to be asked that question? And young people think it's okay and bravado to have those types of, or say those types of things, thinking they don't mean much. It's just a bit of fun, ha ha. Because
sexual distortion is so prevalent right now in the way that everybody deals with everything. And that's why we are where we are, because it's everywhere. I mean, even in the spirit world, you have people trying to teach tantric sex classes to heal. That is the most distorted, you know, reality from what true healing is. Tantra, real Tantra and yoga doesn't even use sex. So it's like people will use whatever they can to try to make themselves feel better in that moment. But boys like that, of course, that's coming from his own pain. You would never respectfully speak to a woman like that ever, unless something has happened to you or you were taught that, right? So I think sexual distortion is just, it's so prevalent right now, and it needs to be rewired in everywhere, not just the workplace.
you are such a mission to do so many good things. I mean, the work that you do with the child sex trafficking came from a deep place of pain and fear that was something that I couldn't possibly imagine happening.
Yeah.
But I bet you're not the only one that's been in that scenario.
Yeah.
The great work you do with healing that I've really bought into, probably more than anybody else I've got to know around this subject, is that you make this believable, but also practical. Mm-hmm. And I think that's for people like me with the stiff upper lip, you know, the guy that's like, oh, that's all woo-woo stuff, love. Yeah. I'm the guy that I'm the guy that needs to be convinced. Mm-hmm. I'm the guy that needs to not feel like it is woo-woo, mm-hmm. but to feel like, hey, you know, you may have had some issues in your life.
Yeah,
if you were able just to release those issues from what clouds your judgment sometimes, and those issues that makes you think a certain way and feel a certain way, if you're just able to put them in a box and get rid of them forever, imagine how your life would look. Mm-hmm. And that's for me the most profound part about this conversation for me, because now from a guy that likes you, mm-hmm. to be accommodating because of what you do, to be now a guy that's willing to explore and go on that adventure with you to learn, that's the difference that you've made in an hour and a half to me. And I think that's really important.
Thank you so much. It is really important. And it's really important to also know in this world, and this goes for everybody who's listening, is like, I'm relatable. I'm not untouchable. I'm not, you know, I feel like the beauty is not in the convincing, it's in the connection. And when you have such a deep connection to this work in this space, it's not even me, you know, I'm here from this, like I'm channeling this energy because like it is my purpose. Like my love language is to show you and remind you who you really are and what your power really is. And there's no strings attached with it. I don't have to convince you. I just want to show you, you know? And, when you realize that you have that power and that you are the healer and that you were this whole time and that you are the medicine and you don't need anything else, it's the most fulfilling. And so thank you for taking the time.
I just want to summarize this. It's like packaging something.
Yeah.
You know, and if you said to me, Spence, I could help your business be more successful.
Yeah.
Okay, do you know what I mean? And I know
I knew that one was going to get you. Yeah.
I can help your business be more, okay, I'm all in.
I'm in.
You know? Yeah. I can help you become more successful, or I can help something improve in your life.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm all in because I want the result.
Yep.
Okay, if I want the result, then I've got to be willing to go down the road to get the result. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I can't say thank you enough for coming to spend time. I know you've got 1,000 things to do today and you've been running around and you get back.
You're number one.
You stayed another day for me. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me. God bless you.